Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Let's Get Writing. As you know, I'm your host, Catherine Taylor. But let me tell you, the show is going to be a little bit different today. Instead of being the host, I'm going to be the guest. And I am going to be interviewed. So I'm going to get a feeling for how this feels for all the wonderful people who join me. And coming on the show today to do that job is going to be Susan Flanagan. And hi, Susan.
Hello. I have all sorts of fun questions for you.
Oh, I bet you do. I've had you on the show a couple of times, and your books are behind you, Supermarket Baby and The Degrees of Barley Lick.
And when I read your book, I said, oh, I have to be the one to interview Catherine Taylor.
Well, you know what? I'm going to hand the show over to you.
Well, I read Misty's Misadventures actually while I was recovering from COVID, which is a nasty, nasty thing, but it perked me up and made me happy and made me laugh. So many of the passages were so funny that my spirits were really lifted. You used expressions in the book that you don't often hear, like a moon and a swoon. And the characters' names were so fun, it made it easy to keep everyone straight. Now, before we begin, I think you have a book trailer video that you're going to show us to give readers who have not yet had a chance to read the book an idea of what it's about.
Absolutely, Susan. And just to fill people in, I do want to acknowledge Digital or NL, Tech NL, for helping me with funding to make this trailer. And the trailer took place one day. We shot it here in central Newfoundland. And Roger Monder of Up Sky Down Films came in and did that with me. And I drew on my friends from the local drama community and the community of Pleasant View, which is down there, Point Leamington. And if you don't know where that is, get a map, but it's central Newfoundland, beautiful place. So we lined it all up. We went bang, 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 and we did it. And we're going to let you see it. Here it is. I hope you enjoy.
Home to Newfoundland. I want to go home to Newfoundland. Oh, I want to go to Newfoundland.
Misty Muldoon's favorite view of Newfoundland was always the one in her rearview mirror. Coming home wasn't in her plan.
Oh, good morning. Nice morning this morning, isn't it?
Hi. Do you know where Charlie Cuthbertson lives?
Well, now, that'd be the graveyard. Back that way. You're looking to get the house, eh? Tell you what, I'll take you to it, okay, missus? I'll be Duff Murphy. Who'll be you?
I'm Misty Muldoon.
Home to Newfoundland. I want to go home to Newfoundland. Oh, I want to go to Newfoundland.
This is it?
Oh, yeah, well, this is just a fixer-upper, you know. No, Charlie didn't take too kindly with parting with his money.
No, but I'll have to. I need a job.
Oh, you'll get a J.O.B.
3 months ago, her idea of a necessity was an underwire bra and a glass of wine. Now, it's putting logs in the wood stove and finding a job.
Where's the furnace?
That's it?
You're joking.
Nope. Well, listen, Debbie's hiring over at the yard.
The yarn? What's that, a knitting store?
No, boy. No, it's our local newspaper. Grisly rag, really. Good for nothing, huh? Look at this.
So you're what blew into Charlie's Cove, Misty Muldoon, and you're looking for a job. Well, all right, here's your job description. Just one thing, stay out of my way and make sure your columns are on time.
What's my pay?
Do you know what they get paid at the New York Times?
Yes?
Yeah, well, not that. Now, get out and start nosing around.
Hey! I got a JOB. My own column, Misty's Misadventures.
That's what you thinks. What you got is a piece of work with a piece of work.
With the ink freshly dried on her divorce papers, the last thing Misty needs is a man.
You're not from here. Welcome to Charlie's Cove. I'm Steve.
I'm Misty, like the weather.
They should have called you Stormway. You barged in through the door there. I think you'll fit in just great around here. Well, I'll see you around. And
Sure.
So when a very personal column, desperately longing for love, accidentally goes viral, applications pour in, and papers start selling like hotcakes.
What did you do? What did you do? Desperately seeking lover? That was private.
I just inked a reality TV show, and these just arrived for you. This one's from Heber Philpott. That couldn't satisfy a goat, let alone a woman. You're making me famous, and you works for me.
I didn't sign up to be your retirement plan.
Too late for that, hot pants.
You're insufferable. Can't believe I work for you.
But you do work for me, baby. Don't forget it.
But the one man she really wants is not impressed.
What's this? Was I not moving fast enough for you?
It's not my fault, it's Fawn's penny.
So what do you expect me to do now? Get in line to be your lover?
Well, you could submit your application.
I thought I already did.
I want to go home to Newfoundland.
Misty's Misadventures, a tale of romance, misfortune, and the enduring spirit of a woman who won't give up. It will make you laugh out loud and put small town Newfoundland on your bucket list forever. You'll love it.
I want to go home to Newfoundland.
I was so thrilled to see this trailer, and I can't wait to see the whole story on film. I hope that money falls out of the sky and you have a huge budget for this movie, because I'll be the first in line to watch it, and I'll get all my friends and family to watch it too.
Oh, well,
So
thank you, Susan. And that is the intention. I have a screenplay written and also thinking that it might fit a series. So if anyone is out there watching, I'm here.
So yes, Misty, the lead character in the book, she returns to Newfoundland after having left, I assume, as a teenager or early 20-year-old. And she comes back after her marriage falls apart with her two young daughters. So, Catherine, I know that everybody asks authors of fiction whether the story is semi-autobiographical, but I have a few questions for you.
Okay.
Are you or are you not married to a dentist?
I am married to a dentist, yes.
Do you have two daughters?
Yes, I do.
And this one I don't know the answer to. Did you return to Newfoundland after a dissolution of a marriage?
A little bit. It was a kind of a combination of a lot of things, but that wasn't exactly what brought me back. But I had been married previously. And I came to the festival here, the Salmon Festival in Grand Falls, Windsor, and met my future husband. And I don't know how many times people do that coming here. It's crazy. I think we should do a book on that, relationships that started at the Grand Falls, Windsor Salmon Fest. But yeah.
And then people came for a long weekend and they're here 20 years later.
There you go.
There are several scenes in the book that are so realistic. I thought Catherine must have lived through these, like when Misty breaks her tooth. Did you break a tooth and have it repaired in that manner?
No, but I have seen it happen so often.
Yes.
And I think what happened, Susan, when I came back and I was working at the dental office, helping out, not in a dental capacity in any way, but in a communications and administrative capacity, I just saw so many people from so many communities that would come into the office And I really enjoyed meeting them, and I enjoyed the energy and the stories that they brought, because I found, despite the fact they might be in a chair with their mouth open, the staff always seemed to coach and find time for them to tell about their lives. And there was always a lot of laughter and fun. And it just struck me as I have to write about Newfoundland. I haven't stopped laughing since I moved back. I had a smile on my face permanently. And I thought there are just so many ideas that came to me from having grown up here, and then again coming back and feeling all that. So no, I didn't break my tooth. That was a long story, but I've seen many broken teeth.
How about a coffee shop? Hattie's Coffee Shop features prominently in the book. Is that a real place or based upon a real place?
No, that's truly out of my imagination.
It was very powerful to me. I could feel myself there.
Well, they serve the big hunks of pie and the things that we're famous for here. But good, I'm glad. Maybe there will be a Hattie's sometime.
And the setting in the book, Charlie's Cove, a fictitious Newfoundland outport community, to me, it was as much a character as the people in the book. So can you tell me a bit about Charlie's Cove?
Yeah, Charlie's Cove, to me, I felt that many times when I would travel around the province in the smaller communities, I'd see how they were all built around the harbor. And I would look at the colorful houses and the different, whether they were set on a hill or on a rock, or there was no set pattern to the way anything was, but overall it was just so beautiful. And then the harbor was the center of everything. So it kind of snaked around. That came out of my imagination, just a conglomeration of many places I have been and seen. And I wanted to capture that, how the community, they kind of know everybody in there, and how they welcomed Misty back like one of their own, which she couldn't quite get her head around because she'd never really been there for any period of time. And they greeted her as though she was part of the family, based on her great uncle who left her the house. So no, there's no real Charlie's Cove. I think you could find Charlie's Cove anywhere, but maybe there is a place called Charlie's Cove. I haven't looked.
It was just a representation of beautiful small communities in Newfoundland and Labrador. And I'm just going to read a little bit. I'm going to get you to read in a minute, but I'm going to read your description of Newfoundland and living here from page 241. You said there was something comforting about the austerity of the land, the bare glacial rock upon which people built homes and forged lives. She, Misty, felt as though it had seen sadness and understood, and its resiliency against the elements brought it a strength that it willingly shared with those foolhardy enough to live there. I loved that.
Did I write that? Do you ever have that feeling when you read your work or someone else reads your work and I just go, I can't believe I wrote that.
There's another little line about Newfoundland as well, and it was as though the island had taken her, Misty, in a warm embrace and set her right again. And I got the warm fuzzies inside.
Oh.
So Misty's column, Misty's Misadventures, puts Charlie's Cove on the map. And it brought international attention to that community. And it kept reminding me of Dildo. And I wondered whether the whole Jimmy Kimmel thing was happening while you were writing the book or editing the book.
No, I was first.
Okay.
I have to admit, it took me a while to write this book and conceive it. So I was there before Jimmy Kimmel.
Excellent. So I would like you to read a passage from page 246. So without ruining the plot, Misty has a column in the local newspaper called Misty's Misadventures. And she writes a column that's almost like a diary entry, sort of, and she doesn't intend it to go to press. But the wrong column gets sent in. It does go to press, and that's where the international attention comes from. So this passage is the response that Misty first reads. She gets hundreds of responses, applying to be her, what did you call it?
Lover.
Yeah.
It was a very heartfelt article that she was desperate for love and had landed in Charlie's Cove. And of course, her boss was a bit of an opportunist. And I don't know. Anyway, it got published and the letters came in. So let me begin. Her name was neatly printed in red marker, but there was nothing indicating who it was from. She tucked the flowers under her arms and opened it. I wishes to submit my application for the position as your lover. I am a fully functioning man with no personal ties at the moment. I be's interested in a long-term relationship with the understanding that there's no complaints about moose season and occasional fishing trips with the boys. Sounds as though you is prepared to accommodate these things under the circumstances of being lonely anyway. Whilst I likes the idea of bear on the stoop, I drinks black horse. And I hope you likes the flowers, and I looks forward to your happy acceptance. I feels desperate at times myself. Year-round loving sounds good to me. I'll come by later when I gets the tranny in the car. With well-intended affection, Heber Philpott. Oh dear, this is going to be worse than I thought. She looked at Duff and shook her head despondently. Let's see that. Duff took the letter out of her hand and started reading. Heber Philpott. That couldn't satisfy a goat, let alone a woman.
So Misty gets many applications and they're all funny, but in the wings is a man who she's met in the community who knows nothing about this, and he's a bit taken aback. But before we get to that, let's. I just want to ask you about writing colloquially. So I had another example at the dentist's office. Pansy says, "What are you doing biting on peppermint knobs? They bees for sucking." And you did, you drop your H in Holyrood and pick it up in Havendale. So again, it's Ruby at the dentist's office. She says, I'm not sure I ever seen someone so jumpy. The gas will relax you so much you won't care if we takes your head off. Sound good, what? I laughed because I could hear it in my head. And I've lived on the Northern Peninsula, and there were actually times when I couldn't figure out what people were saying due to the H's being dropped. And so those parts of the book really came across well.
I struggled with that. How am I going to do the Newfoundland accent in a book and not make it tedious to read? So I found a balance, but particularly that character, Ruby. She was the main one that had the adding the H's and the dropping the H's, and she didn't have a big role. So I thought No,
but she's highly intelligent, which I liked because some people might equate that accent with lesser education. But she says, bet you had no idea I be's a licensed nurse too, thanks to the training incentives. If the government keeps closing fish plants, I'll be a brain surgeon by the time I retires.
Exactly. And I think that point that you made, a lot of people assume that because of dialect and things like that that anyone is less intelligent. And no. Ruby's a good example of that. She took all the courses that came her way and were offered to her, and who knows, maybe she will be a brain surgeon.
And it could be the person with the thickest accent who you would be most well off with when you're on a deserted island or stuck in the woods, because they're the ones that'll keep you alive.
Absolutely. And I've got a pretty good skill at that too these days.
I've
learned a lot.
So in the book, it is light-hearted reading, but yet there are serious issues too. It's not all fun and games. Misty's ex-husband takes on her ex-best friend, and they are going to have a baby together. So, that's big stuff.
Yeah, that was big stuff. And I think it was, these were things that Misty wasn't expecting. And in the middle of all the craziness of trying to start her life again, she gets these calls that just throw her off her game for a minute. And she has to, she has 2 children. And she's got to figure out now, how are they going to feel about that? And of course, they're very excited. But how does she feel about that? You know, how she was already having issues with another woman raising her children and things like that. And now there's going to be a new member of the family. So real life happens here. Like you say, I wanted to write a romantic comedy. I wanted to write something that made people laugh. But at the same time, life happens, and it's part of it.
Yes. You brought that out well. She was such a confident character, but when she spoke to her husband, she said, the confident woman behind Misty's misadventures up and deserted her at the sound of his voice. So he had that effect on her. You know, she wasn't far enough out of the relationship to be able to put it completely behind her. Just hearing him speak made her vulnerable.
It did. It brought back a lot of her insecurities and ways that she felt she may have failed her marriage, maybe failed herself. A lot of that hit her. And it seems like, I think it can happen to us anytime. It might be with a parent. It might be with maybe even a work colleague, where something they've done or some relationship you've had with them, all of a sudden your self-confidence is gone and there's no explanation for it. It just takes you back to a place where you weren't as strong. And that's what she felt with Jake. But she comes out of it.
She does. So I'm interested in hearing about your writing process, whether you're a planner, do you plan out the plot points ahead of time, or a pantser, which means flying by the seat of your pants?
Well, I had no idea what I was doing when I started. I truly didn't. And actually, one of the reasons I started my program, Let's Get Writing, was to find out more about writing and how people wrote and how they did it. So how I started, I had an idea of where I was going, but I've never been one to plot everything out. Susan, that's not me, although it might be me in the future when I write a book. I had the ideas, and then how I would work my day is I like to write in the morning. So I would go sort of 9 to noon and I would write, and I would not edit it. The next day I would come in and then I would take it, edit, and get that to where it felt good. And then I do the next bit. Whether it would be not a chapter, I didn't move through that quickly, but it would be a section, sometimes a chapter. And then I would go back and edit. Would I recommend that? I don't know, but it worked for me. I did get the book done. Having spoken to a lot of people who plan, and who haven't, there are those who do and who don't. Some of the people who do plan their writing say that made it easier to write the book. What about you? I forget now how you did yours.
My first one, I didn't plan, my first published one. So this one wasn't a big planning thing, but this one was far more fleshed out in the planning stage, and it was a lot easier. Mm-hmm. And it was more satisfactory to write. Wow. But if I were a betting woman, I would have bet on you being a planner. So I would have lost.
You would have lost, yeah. But I will be a planner
for the next one.
Yes.
I think a lot of pantsers become planners after the experience of flying by the seat of your pants. But I do the same thing where I will write and it's unpolished, and then the next day go back, because you can look at it with more objective eyes. And once you have anything on paper or on the computer, it's easier to make it better than just to get it out of your head onto the page.
Absolutely. Truer words were never spoken, because anytime, for example, I've been writing a lot of articles for Enlo's Advisor. And as I approach it, it's just like, get it on paper. Don't worry if it's the version you want.
Sleep and then you're all fresh.
Yeah, you come back and then you've got clay to work with, and it's so much easier. So the biggest thing and most advice I would give anyone who's thinking to write is get it on paper. Even if you hate it or don't feel it's good, that's where you begin.
Yeah. So tell me about your publishing journey. I know it's a lengthy one. Mine was too, but it's always interesting to hear how a book actually becomes a concrete product.
Absolutely. Well, my publishing journey, I didn't actually shop it to any publishers. I thought, I think I'll self-publish. And what I was thinking about that was because I envisioned a series or a movie, and I wanted to own my rights. That was a big motivating factor. And I did self-publish. I found a publisher, Frisian Press, and it is very much like a typical publishing experience with them. It was beautiful. I had an editor. I had things sent to me. We worked off a virtual platform. It was a lovely experience.
And they're a Canadian company in Winnipeg, is it?
They are actually, I think they print in Manitoba, but in actual fact, their offices are in Victoria, BC.
Oh, okay. So I've also heard positive things about Friesen. So that's good.
Yeah, they were great. And Susan, I'm taking over again. We have about a minute left. Yeah.
Well, one other thing, I have listened to some of your chapters read by you for an audiobook. And that is so exciting because I can, even when I was reading it, I could hear your voice, but actually hearing your voice made it so much more enjoyable. So 2 quick questions. Okay. When can we expect the audiobook, and where can people get their hands on the hard copy book?
Okay. Number 1, the audiobook is in process and I'm reading it. I set up my home studio and I found a wonderful producer who's in Botwood and he edits it. And thank you. I'm trying to think, it was Ida Lenahan Young who sent me there. So the contacts are invaluable. And it is in process. I'm at chapter 7, but then I had a little throat thing with COVID. I'll be going back to that soon. So that'll be ready in a few months. And the book now is everywhere you can order a book. It's on Amazon, Chapters, any of the e-platforms, and you can actually get the books. And I do believe the Newfoundland Library.
Excellent.
We're ordering some. Yeah.
Well, that is stupendous. And I'm so happy I got to talk to you and got to turn the tables and interview you. And you get to feel what it's like to be on the receiving end.
I do indeed. And I just popped up my webpage because everything is there. And people can catch up with me there and find out all they need to know. Thank you so much, Susan. I appreciate it. Thank you, folks. I hope you enjoyed the show and check out more at Catherine Taylor TV. Bye now.
Bye.